Whether you're Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal, by now we've all felt the pain of inflation as our hard-earned money buys us less and less every day. And for most of us, there's no pay rise in sight. And while it's the American way to try to stay positive, or as my Aussie wife would say, to view the world through rose-colored lenses, all signs point to the fact that the pain we're experiencing now is just the beginning. Our national debt is growing exponentially, and experts are predicting that we're headed towards hyperinflation, which means that prices could soon go up by 100%, 1,000%, even 1,000,000%. This is not hyperbole. Back in 2019, Venezuela, one of the richest country in South America at that time, had an inflation rate of 10 million%. You literally needed a wheelbarrow of cash to buy a loaf of bread. There comes a point where even your money, it's not even worth the paper it's printed on. And that, my friends, is how a currency collapses. So is this where America's headed right now? Because look, I'm not even factoring in all the geopolitical issues like the BRICS nations forming a new reserve currency, the Russia-Ukraine war, threats to the supply chain, etc. My guest today, John Perez, a.k.a. the crypto Nostradamus, has foretold many of the major financial events in recent times, especially in the crypto market. He sees the big picture and connects the dots between finance and geopolitics. And in my opinion, he paints one of the most accurate pictures of what's going on in our world today. But on the flip side, he offers real and tangible actions that you can take to get through this and maybe even thrive. And that's why I'm so excited to have him on my show today. So stay with me, folks, because it's going to be a great show. Welcome to Man in America. I'm your host, Seth Holhouse. So folks, before we get started, I've got a few quick messages for you. So today's show is brought to you by Rise TV. Rise TV is the reason I can do Man in America full-time. It is an amazing Patriot-owned, Patriot-run streaming platform that enables us to speak the truth and do whatever we need to do, because with big tech, censorship, and the demonetization, they've made it really tough for people like me with a mission to tell the truth. So on Rise TV, we've got a massive content library and an amazing community of patriots. So come try it out. Also, at the end of today's show, we're going to have a whole Q&A section over on Rise TV. So if you want to join us for that, there's a link for a free trial in the description below. And look, folks, it looks like we've got some very shaky times ahead of us, as you'll see in today's show. Russia, China, India, and dozens of other countries are on the verge of announcing a new global reserve currency. And when they do, the dollar is going to lose its position as the dominant global currency and head towards collapse. You see, the world's fed up with the U.S. printing money out of thin air and expecting to trade it for things of real value. So Russia has already backed its currency with gold, and many other nations are expected to follow. For most of us Americans, the U.S. dollar is all we know, and our wealth is completely tied to it. So whether it's through the stock market, our bank accounts, pensions, 401ks, etc., if the dollar falls, all these things will fall with it. I'm not exaggerating. You could literally see your life savings wiped out overnight. And look, I'm not a financial advisor, so please do your own research, but I believe that now more than ever, it's a good time to start considering transferring at least some of your wealth into physical gold and silver, real world assets that have stood the test of time. And for this, I'm confident recommending Noble Gold. So Noble Gold, you can buy gold and silver directly, or you can do an IRA transfer, which is what they specialize in. So it allows you to transfer your IRA assets into physical gold and silver with zero penalties or taxes. And most importantly, you can trust Noble Gold with your wealth. They've got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and hundreds of positive reviews from the folks they've helped. And look, I want to be really clear. You don't buy gold and silver to get rich. You do it to protect your wealth. But if things get really tough, history has left us many stories of folks scooping up land and other valuable assets for a few gold coins. So now's the time, folks. If you want to learn more about this, open up a new tab right now and go to goldwithseth.com. Or you can call 877-646-5347 to speak to someone right now. The folks at Noble Gold will answer all your questions and take very good care of you every step of the way. Again, it's 877-646-5347. And look, if you already know someone that sells gold and silver, great, more power to you. Whether you work with Noble Gold or not, please act now before it's too late. All right, folks, I am very excited for today's interview with John Perez, who I'd first seen in an earlier interview with Mike Adams. I said, this guy really gets it. And as I mentioned in the intro, he really sees everything that's happening through a financial and a geopolitical perspective. A lot of people, they know the stock market, they know currency, they know finance, but being able to merge what's happening in the financial markets with the Great Reset, with geopolitics, with Russia, Ukraine, understanding how it all fits together. There's very few people that I'm seeing out there that are connecting all those pieces together. And that's why I'm honored to have on my show Mr. John Perez. So, John, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, happy to be here, Seth. Very excited to be on Man in America. I like your show, I like all your topics. And I was not aware of Rise TV being such a great patriotic owned project. And love the fact that you're a goal supporter, getting people to defend themselves and look at other options like Noble IRA, all great things, but happy to be here today.
Great. So, John, before we dive into just the insanity happening right now, do you just want to give us a quick background on kind of just where you've come from and what your expertise is?
Yeah. I tell this to people every day. In this market, experience counts. It can work for you or it can work against you. I've been professionally in gold and silver since 2005, 2006. I was a broker at Monex, moved millions of dollars in physical silver and traded millions of dollars in the silver markets, all successfully. I can say to this day, all my clients 100% in profits, no matter what they suppress or do with the projects. Prior to that, I managed a private equity real estate fund, got them out of housing market when it crashed, moved them into gold and silver. And we are literally repeating right now the current markets where we were at in the summer of 2008 when we had oil go up to 140 a barrel. And with the market started to crater in 2008 all the way into 2009. And to me, this current summer looks exactly like July 2008. The housing market was going, but it was crashing at the same time, ready to go. And it wasn't until we had all the CDOs and CDSs collapse, it blew things up. I went through that market with my clients, moved them out of real estate, sold at the top. We got out right on time, got them into gold and silver, oil, and we rode that market up also here. So my entire career in has been precious metals since 2005. I've stayed in. I didn't run off into crypto, Bitcoin. I didn't run it off into pot. I focused on precious metals because I've always believed and I've always known silver is money, gold is money, and it was always suppressed as an undervalued asset. So I've been in this game for a long time, and I've prepared. And this time, I've brought all that experience, and now I'm applying it along with my background in geopolitics. I have a couple ultra high net worth clients that were involved in the diplomatic and geopolitical realm. So I have been reporting for years on this here. And this was the year that things came together where geopolitics came together in economics, and it's going to change our future when it comes to the gold-backed ruble and the gold-backed yuan, which is coming. I believe the gold-backed yuan will be coming right before, during, or after the Chinese invasion of Taiwan. That's saying a lot there, but that's a little more on my background there. So I've been in this game for a long time, 2005, 2006 professionally, and continue to this day. Growing a lot more though. Telegram, just booming on Telegram here. Great article, great here. But my interview with Mike Adams during the first crash in Bitcoin, there were some patterns I saw there. Started asking questions about Bitcoin, and I looked at things from a completely different perspective, a perspective nobody else wanted to do. Nobody else really, I'm not sure anybody had the experience to look into that. And I uncovered a few things here, and they're all being fulfilled right now. Literally, all these predictions are coming to true, but they're all connected. We are literally in a deep state collapse that has changed as geopolitical, political, whether anybody likes it or not. All these events are all connected together here, and it's scary times. But I put it in plain English on my channel, and I use all that experience and put it in practical terms so the average layperson can take all these really intense geopolitical complex situations. I put it in plain English so people can put together a plan to not only defend themselves, but to prepare to thrive, even in bad times, because we have bad times coming ahead, but I want people to thrive. So there it is right there. But my entire career has been precious metals since 2005, nonstop. And I have moved millions in physical silver, probably 85% silver, and millions of successful trading in the futures and paper market also there. And most of the people that were with me back then are still with me today. So this is our second go around. It's our second rodeo.
Well, at first, I really want to commend you for coming on, and this is a heavy topic. We're at in what some people are calling the end of an empire. And so the fact that you can come on with a smile and have a positive attitude and also look at this and say, folks, there's opportunity in what's happening. And it's not just, doom and gloom. We're all going to be, in bread lines, with digital IDs, forced to kind of buy into the Great Reset. Your message has really been, look, like we have a window right now to prepare. And in a lot of ways, that's what I've been talking about as well. Like, hey, we can plant gardens right now. We can go to Costco and buy beans and flour. We have a window right now to do this. And I think that it's a blessing. So I really thank you for bringing that energy into this, because, it's a heavy topic. It's not a fun topic to really dig into.
Yeah. And I know that, because I've got so much experience, sometimes I'll unload on people and there's overwhelmed. And I always tell people at the beginning, it's what's important to know is I am not a black pillar. I am an eternal optimist that no matter what the situation is, there is a positive outcome that can be found, but you got to look for it. You got to prepare for it. So I am a permanent, I am stuck in the gear of eternal optimism.
You and I both.
As bad as things look, and you too. I like your show because of that. When you asked me to come on your show, I was watching some more shows and I subscribed to your channel and I thought, oh, this is great. And I'm just a firm believer that there are many reasons to be positive on this. Like, yeah, when you first come to the conclusion that, man, things really are bad, Perez, it's like, yes, but you can prepare. There are ways to go. Now it's getting late in the game and you got to move quicker now. But as an eternal optimist, I look at things and say, what is the opportunity here? Yeah. We know silver is money. We know gold is money. We know palladium is money. We know platinum is money here. And people are probably 99% of the people that follow me and work on my Telegram, which I have a very active community there. Everyone is on board on silver and we're moving forward. But now people are taking action. Okay, get that garden going. Just like you said, get that garden going here. Let's back ourselves out. Do we want to be a victim? Look at Europe right now. Germany, they're cutting off all their energy. They're going to have big problems. Their energy bills are going to be up 300, 400, 500%.
If they can even heat their homes over the winter.
Yeah. In Poland, they're not going to have natural gas because of the situation, very complex. Poland is part of NATO and they're rejecting natural gas. Well, that means the people are going to suffer. Well, Joe Biden says now Joe Biden is sending United States liquid natural gas energy there. The people are going to pay 300, 400, 500% more. But now we have a shortage here in the United States. So we're going to whipsaw. There's a lot of this stuff is going on. And this is the stuff I talk about in plain English. And I always document it. And people look and say, wow, it's always worse than it appears. And it shows like yours that show the truth that people can really prepare and say, wow, this is way worse. They're not showing it in the fake news. They're not showing it on CNBC, Fox News. They're not telling you to go out and prepare. They're reporting mainstream top-notch news where the guy on the street can really, you see these numbers, but how does that affect the man on the street, the man and woman, the family on the street, the American? Because Americans are suffering right now. We're paying $6 at the pump. And I believe that price is going to go to $10, $11, $12, $13 at the pump because of these, quote, sanctions to hurt Russia. They're going to backfire. Yeah. And that's going to drain people's wallets here. And that's what I talk a lot about, these complex issues, talk about how it's going to affect you at ground zero. And then let's come up with ways and practical solutions to defend ourselves. Because at this stage of the game, we're watching an economic global war right now. Yeah. And it's sanctions right now going back. These are the things that happened before a hot war. And whether anybody likes it or not, when these things start to whipsaw back and forth, these inflationary numbers, which I think they're all wrong. The real numbers are at shadow stats. They're double, they're triple what they are here. Then the guy on the street who's not getting informed by a professional, I'm broadcasting that so people can look, take action.
Yeah.
I don't. It's not AI, artificial intelligence. It's AII. It's actionable, investable intelligence of your time, and you can take action on this stuff. And it's here and now because nobody's going to warn you. The government's not going to warn you. 911 is not going to warn you. You go on a lot. We all know at this point that the dollar is collapsing. It's going to go away. It's going to go away in a controlled demolition style. What does that mean? You've got to have silver, but you got to have a strategy. You don't want to buy silver. There are other tactics you can do to take advantage of that. We did that in 2008, 2009, and actually did really well. But even though things were getting wiped out in real estate, we pretty much were sitting by the pool. We made a lot of money, and of course, not everyone's happy. It's like, well, what did you do? It's like we prepared for it. And I think now we're at the stage where we've got new media, such as your channel, getting the word out there that people don't have to sit on the sidelines and be collateral damage to what the powers that be are doing around the world, in Russia, Ukraine here. These things are happening. We have no control of them, but we do have control with our attitude and how we approach these issues and challenges. And I'm probably one of the few guys that says, this is going to happen. This could happen. Here's a scenario. You need to do this. And by the way, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it doesn't get this bad. But as I always tell my clients and tell everyone at work, look, let's prepare for the worst, but pray for the best.
Yeah.
Prepare for the worst and pray for the best.
Let's kind of dig into that. When you say you hope you're wrong, you're wrong about what? When you say prepare for the worst, what is the worst? And where is America and our economy at right now? Where are we headed? Because people that I talk to that are, say, watching, say they're digging, they're watching Fox, and even people that are very astute in finance, they're saying, you know what? Yeah, we're going into a recession and it's because of X, Y, and Z, but we'll come out of it. But that's a very different perspective than the collapse of the dollar, right? So where do you see where we're at? Like what's impacting where we are and where are we headed?
Your perfect question. I'll tell you how I see things. This is all my opinion and how I see things. And this is not someone who just jumped on the stock market the last few years. I've been doing this for my entire financial career, is precious metals, which is a defensive play. It's always been a defensive play. But now precious metals are about to become offensive. And what I mean by that is that with the system and the paper system, the derivative market's finally collapsing. You got JP Morgan in the news, their suppression and RICO lawsuits coming in. You've got the LME that's completely disintegrating in the gold contracts. Now you've got gold and silver now that are not, where in the past were defensive weapons and insurance, and they still are. But now they're about ready to take front stage because the entire global system is falling apart at the seams right now. I do believe what I see right now is this. What we see going on in Europe is being backed by U.S. policy. And that policy, what appears to be helping Europe, is actually destroying the middle class of America. The middle class is going to suffer. So my attitude is, rather than get into too deep and analyze this stuff, because you can overanalyze this, you can spend 8 hours a day analyzing economics. My attitude is, look, I've already done the homework. I've been through this crash before. I'm a geopolitical expert. Here's what's going to happen. And most people go back and they watch my videos like, everything this guy's saying is coming true. And a lot of things I said, people said, I don't see it. And then it comes true. I have hundreds of emails from people saying, you're right again. You're right again. I can't believe it. I said, nobody is going to give you this background here because I'm looking at there. I go, we're dealing with a deep state economic situation, a deep state news situation. And the news, just as there's fake news, there is fake business news. There is fake business news. And that is really important for people to delineate. There's a separation. There's news you need and there's news you see. We see the big news coming out. And I've been watching CNBC since 1990, before 1998, before it was even created. It was FNN. I went through the tech bubble. And now fast forward, I'm looking, I said, none of this news applies to the man on the street. It really doesn't. So once people can see that there's fake news and real news, I come in with the news that is real. And what I see right now is we're past recession. In my opinion, we are in the first structural changes going into a depression. And I'm not saying a slow motion depression. I am talking about an overnight oil shock. I see an oil shock coming very soon because you asked the question, what do you see right now, Perez? Biden is going to Saudi Arabia. He's going to go there and ask them to increase production to lower our fuel costs, which is really buffoonery, because Biden shut down Keystone. He shut down offshore drilling. And I saw a map last night showing all the tankers from the Gulf going to Europe. And while Americans are paying $6 at the pump, so we're screwed. You got to prepare for this. You got to prepare. Why? Because we can't change this. Voting, too late. Now we're at the phase now when these commodity cycles move. They move like lightning. They move overnight shock. And I'm expecting JP Morgan put out a forecast of $380 oil. I went through that work and I said, it's right on the money here. Nobody's talking about the details of these sanctions. And in that article here, I predicted $220 a barrel oil. Goldman Sachs predicts 140. We hit 143, 150 in July, August of 2008. Now here we are again. It's July 2022. And all of a sudden, Goldman Sachs just said 140 oil for the year. I say 220, and then JP Morgan says 380. Well, the 380 oil is an absolute, it's a death blow. The United States will come to a grinding halt within 7 days. If we go past 200, it's going to happen. But now the elements are there. And
explain that for me too. What does that look like? Say if oil jumps that price, what's that look like for America?
Here's what I tell my people. Because bottom line, what does this mean? Let's say we bump to 200 oil. Let's just go halfway there. Say 200 oil. Overnight, we're going to see 10, 11, 12, $13 diesel. Where? West Coast, California. What's in the West Coast? Port of Long Beach Harbor, all the ports up and down, everything coming from China. Those trucks will park. I do recall, and I remember very clearly when we sit 143 oil, 142 in the summer of 2008, everyone just parked their trucks. There, of course, you can look it up. People park their trucks. I'm in Southern California. We see all these containers offshore. That everything coming out of the ports will come to a stop because the truckers, they can't afford the fuel, period. Now, that's one. Number two, there was recently a new bill passed. Independent truckers can no longer truck containers out of the Port of Long Beach. It's gone straight union. So that immediately removed tens of thousands of truckers. So no, we have that hitting there, and then we have these prices. That comes to a stop. Now what happens here? Diesel fuel delivers propane. I need propane. Winter's coming. We got Grand Solar Minimum coming. Grand Solar Mini Ice Age coming. Look it up, electroverse.net. Well, how are you going to deliver your propane? Don't worry, I'll be warm this winter. I'll just order propane. I'm sorry, gas is too expensive. It's going to your $500 refill is going to cost you $1,500. There goes $1,000 out the door. Food, all these food companies being burned down. Food prices, shelves are going to be empty here. How do you deliver fruit and vegetable? Diesel trucks, they can't deliver. They're going to hit you up. Your food now is going to cost double, triple. So all of a sudden, overnight, within a week, people are going to say, I have to choose between gas for my car and getting to work and keeping my house warm. We're going to see that. We're going to see it. It's going to happen. The factors that make that happen, the wheels are grinding. It's already there. And what it gets to, let me give this trigger. It's very, very important you know this. In the article, what happens here is that the Biden plan to sanction Russia, to punish Russia, what it essentially does is the tankers have to move oil at a fixed price of $60 per barrel. Any more than that, and they cannot insure their tankers. Therefore, the tankers are uninsured. They will not float. They cannot deliver. They'll only be insured to move U.S. oil to Europe. And that oil that would normally come to us, no more oil grinding to the United States. And that is designed as, quote, sanctions. And this is why the BRICS nations have said, we're done with America. These guys are self-destructing. They're sending all their oil and gas to Europe. Europe needs Russian natural gas. The European economy is going to collapse, period. It's going to collapse. It's already on its way down. I've been on this long before the war started here, and they're going to suffer from no natural gas. Russia's going to do just fine because they're going to sell all their energy to China and Asia and India. And so this sanction, what it does it literally does not let the tankers load fuel up above $60 a barrel to hurt Russia. The idea is, oh, we're going to take the money away from Russia. Well, then now a tanker says, hey, you have Americans that are paying $6-7 a gallon for gasoline. Well, if we want to help your people, it's like, nope, sanctions are in right here. The sanctions appear to be against Russia, but the truth is the sanctions are a bullseye on all of Americans. Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. Gasoline is not political. If you can't afford it, you're done. And I believe that is going to take us to what is called the precipice of understanding how bad the damage is going to be on this economy. And I believe this is going to happen here in a matter of days, if not weeks. And that same process that kicks oil up is going to trigger the oil to gold ratio and the silver to oil ratio here. But the problem is the damage is going to be so critically hard, so damaging, it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. And that's where we're going to see a lot of pain. And so my role with my group and Telegram, my people, is getting people prepared. Just get ready. And that's when I say, I hope I'm wrong. But the article, I'm about ready to do a video specifically on these sanctions. And it's the same with the grain. There's going to be famine in North Africa here. And of course, the sanctions, you cannot buy Russian grain. But here's the problem here. I forgot which country it was, an African president said, I need grain to feed my people. And of course, the Biden administration said, well, if you buy grain, we're going to sanction you. It's like, well, how do I win? Well, you got to join the club. Well, wait a second. I'm going to cut off my nose for you, starve my people for your sanctions. So these sanctions here, everybody needs to take a look at those sanctions. Every financial professional needs to analyze these. It's not what you think. Literally, these sanctions are a big, giant boomerang. Biden's going to throw that boomerang, it's going to come up, and it's not going to hit him. It's going to hit the American people right in the pocketbook. And that's where I tell people, you got to take a defensive mode here, and you got to move quickly here, and once again, as bad as that sounds, the eternal optimist side, John, the other side is this. The other side may be in the midst of midwinter when you can look it up, type in propane Armageddon. We may see propane Armageddon this winter because all the liquid natural gas and propane was sent to Europe, and they're selling at 300, 400, 600% over their normal prices. So they're going to make money off that, and Americans are going to lose. Americans are going to pay, and that's money that could be used for food. That's money that could be used to buying more silver, to buying more gold. Instead, it's going out the door in energy, which is a tax on everyone, a massive tax here. So
you're seeing this. You're seeing basically that you look at this from the perspective of, you mentioned the food, which now I've covered the food stuff extensively with the factories burning down, and farmers can no longer afford fertilizer, animal feed, the wheat prices, everything's compounding. You really describe what's happening with the energy and how these sanctions on Russia are a boomerang that are come back. And I've also heard other people say that. I've heard trucking companies, farmers saying that gas is going to be diesel will be 10, 12 bucks a gallon by winter. But what we also have unfolding, and I've heard you discuss this as well, is the fact that we are on another precipice of losing our status as the world reserve currency and as the petrodollar, as the BRICS nations are coming together with, I think, CCP at the helm of that, and working on getting Saudi Arabia to start working with the petro yuan, on top of announcing their own reserve currency. So, and that seems to be within weeks away as well. So, what happens? Like, how does that affect the U.S. dollar when we get knocked out of that position as the world reserve currency?
Well, perfect topic. Let's go back to when, right before the Ukrainian war, remember they attacked the ruble and the ruble crashed. Yeah. And then, from my opinion, from my perspective, Vladimir Putin was prepared, and they brought in gold to back the ruble, and it took off again. And there is the thesis right there, gold backed. And ever since then, the ruble has maintained. It's a war, and they're fighting that war also. Now, China has taken somewhat of a neutral stance with Ukraine and Russia, but I personally believe that China is going to move on Taiwan between August and October. And when that happens, either right before, during, or right after, China is going to announce a gold-backed yuan to work with their ally, Russia, who's got a gold-backed ruble. I believe that the gold-backed ruble and the gold-backed yuan, they're ready to go. They have their own SWIFT system. They're done. This SWIFT thing is not a new story. I followed that in 2015 when Russia came in to help Syria fight ISIS. The red line came. They're going to remove Russia from SWIFT, and Russia began work on a SWIFT backup in 2015. Is not new. They've been preparing since 2014 on this here. So that's 8 years, and they're ready to go. And China signed a $90 billion oil and energy deal last October. So they've got their energy set. So when the sanctions come from the United States, because the sanctions are going to come when China moves on Taiwan, you're going to see Biden put on the sanctions, and it's going to rip up all the companies that are operating in China. They're going to be destroyed because once again, if you do business with China, we're going to have to sanction you. It's like you're sanctioning your own companies. Who are these companies? Well, we know it's all the big companies, but recall Donald Trump said, bring home your company, bring home your manufacturing, we'll give you a tax break. And many companies said, no, we're going to stay here in China. That blowback is coming here. So regarding the gold-backed ruble and the Chinese yuan, when is that going to happen? I believe it's going to happen in a series of events that I'm going to say the next 120 days. The first signal, Biden and Saudi Arabia fail. You're going to see Biden on the world stage go to Saudi Arabia, request increase in production, and have a colossal global failure. And that's going to trigger the oil shock. And stopping in Israel, that we've got the Middle East, Syria, Turkey, Iran, and Russia are now coming together. Vladimir Putin will be in Iran next week. You can see now that Russia, Turkey, Syria, as well as Iran, now they're coming together. The wild card is if we see Turkey coming together with Syria, it's going to change the entire dynamic in the Middle East and add even more upward pressure on the price of crude oil there in the Middle East. That failure of Biden on the petrodollar is going to come, and it's almost going to echo what happened in 1973 when we had the oil shock then. What happened in 1973? We came off the gold standard. What happened in 1873, 100 years older? Grant sold us out. Crime of the century, demonetized silver. Exactly 100 years later, 1973. Nixon took us off the gold standard. 100 years later, what happened? Oil shock. Now we have another oil shock. This time we are going to be the victims of our own policy. I say ours. Biden is not my president. He's the guy up there doing what he's doing there. But I don't, because Biden is not my president. Trump is still my president. That's why I look at it. Trump's just still Trump 2020. But it's Biden for now. We see doing these things. And as the gold-backed yuan is going to surprise everyone because most people aren't looking at it this way. It will come on a geopolitical event. It will come when China makes its move on Taiwan, which I expect within 120 days will move. When that happens, Russia will back the Chinese yuan, and those two nations will trade energy. And then, of course, you've got the BRIC nations. Brazil, they want Russian technology. You've got Venezuela, which, in my opinion, we're going to see another Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0, 1963, repeat of the 13 days. We're going to see Russian weapons, strategic bombers landing in Venezuela. We'll see the Tu-160 there. This time they'll be carrying hypersonic missiles that are both conventional and nuclear. All these things are happening like right now, but you don't see it in the mainstream news. They're never going to report it. And that's my specialty, is reporting on the news that affects investors and the man on the street. But what you're talking about, the dollar collapse, I believe it's going to be very symbolic when basically Biden goes to Saudi Arabia and is literally on his knees begging for something, and the whole world sees the failure of America through the eyes and through the camera lens focusing on Biden. We're all going to see it. And nobody's talking about it. When this happens, everyone says, man, this guy said it on Mad America. It's going to happen. And then we're going to see oil shock. And then from there, we're going to start to pinball down because the word will be on the street. Wait a second, what happened? Well, I was here to increase production from the Saudis. Bin Salman said, no dice, my friend, because Bin Salman and Putin, they're bros. They're looking out for each other. And Bin Salman knows, hey, if I do this, I'm going to get sanctioned. They're going to destroy me. And I won't be surprised to see the Saudis start to buy more Russian weapons here because many of these countries like, we've had enough of this sanction stuff. Then that's why the BRICS are coming together here and asking they want protection. They don't want to be hit with the sanctioned Billy Club, but the sanctioned Billy Club is losing its power. And that's what the dollar really starts to go into free fall, which should happen after the Saudi event, then we're really going to see things accelerate in a quickening. It's going to happen very, very fast. And a lot of people are going to be caught off guard on this here. And this will come very, very quickly. And it's going to be connected to the crash of the end of Bitcoin is coming. NASDAQ and Bitcoin will crash together just like 1999. We're going to see a crash of NASDAQ and Bitcoin.
Bitcoin briefly, because you just said the end of Bitcoin is coming, and people have referred to you as the crypto Nostradamus. And I know that you've talked extensively about that, and I think that your position is very similar to my position. That I think that I look at Bitcoin as another fiat currency. It's decentralized, but still another currency that is just propped up by the perceived value that people around the world have in it. So where do you see happening to crypto amidst this? Because there's a lot of people that say, oh, well, once the dollar crashes, I'll be safe in my Bitcoin haven, and that's how we're going to get through this.
Yeah. Well, John McAfee called Bitcoin a tracking and surveillance device, and I agree with him 100% on that one. Rest in peace, Jet. Surveillance and tracking. The U.S. military is using software that are already hunting down crypto criminals. A lot of people don't know that U.S. military, U.S. Army is contracted. They are looking for these people. I believe in the crypto conspiracy series with David Morgan, I covered how Executive Order 13818 and how the involvement of Epstein with Bitcoin, it's all on the open. Anybody can see this here. This is all involved with human trafficking. And this is not a secret. Anybody can look it up. And the one thing I said was a lot of people don't want to talk about this. And I thought, I understand why. But I believe recently Elon Musk, who just pretty much pulled the rug out on Twitter, Elon Musk has tweeted out. He put out a tweet. He said, 4 things I will not see in my lifetime: a Tyrannosaurus Rex, a unicorn, and a brontosaurus. And there was one more. And then the 4th one was the Ghislaine Epstein client list, which to me signals the list is coming. That's what he really said. The list is coming. When? I think we're going to see that Ghislaine Epstein list. And on that list, that black book, it's going to be Bitcoin. It's going to be Bitcoin riddled inside there. And it will be Elon Musk, his work, when that comes together here, that's going to take out so much of the finance community, because we don't know how big it is, but something tells me it's a lot bigger than anybody wants to talk about. And Bitcoin is directly involved with that, because you recall Ghislaine Maxwell, the rumor is, she had $1 billion trade in July 2021 here. So from here on, I'm going to fast forward here. Where do I see Bitcoin between now and October? In October, Europe is going to put crypto regulations out that's going to be draconian for everyone except their own central bank digital coin. Because as the crypto market implodes on itself, which it will, and Tether will be the big one. I called it, I put out a call. I said, sell Bitcoin at 69,000, and I sell Bitcoin at 66,666. Sell it because why? Because Bitcoin is tethered to the abyss. That was code for, yes, it's Tether. When Tether goes, it's going to be like a cartoon string on a sweater. You pull that string and the whole sweater comes off. And that's what's going to happen with Bitcoin. When we're going to see hit 14,000 here, then 12,000. And then we're going to start to go when Tether comes out, because it's been audited and it's been proven by the Senate committee. Go to Wall Street on Parade, plenty of information on there on the series. Up to 80 to 90% of the volume in Bitcoin is uneconomic. I mean, this is reported in the Senate Banking Committee here. And there's people out there that don't want to talk about this. They're like Bitcoin forever. It's like a religion. My friend, if you really care about people and their money, you would have had them diversifying. Had I think probably close to $25-50 million in sales came from my call. They all joined me at Telegram. Saying, I sold at 54. I sold at 58. I sold at 60. I saw your call. I sold at 62. Millions of dollars joined me on Telegram, and they're all going in the gold, silver stock space now. They're buying physical silver, physical gold, and I thought this is perfect. And I said, John, there's people I know. They're still telling people to hold on their Bitcoin. I go, they didn't see the crypto conspiracy. They probably did, but they're not going to talk about it because the crypto conspiracy falls under Executive Order 13818, which, by the way, was extended by Joe Biden on December 21st, 2021, which means what? Under the Magnitsky Act, which is built into the executive order, This is an international order with all law enforcement agencies, and they said there would be no warning and no notice when enforcement would come, and it's international. For a lot of people, this is a risk. It's just a risk management thing. You read it, it's like, okay, this is risk. This is a big risk here, because the trail is there. This where this goes. I mean, it goes back to MIT, Epstein, and there's still people out there promoting Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not money. Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin will soon be. I think I make a prediction. One of the largest seizures of gold and silver in the future is going to be when they hunt down all this crypto that was laundered into gold, silver, and real estate. The U.S. Treasury is already seizing hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate of laundered money through Bitcoin, which was put into real estate. All this stuff is happening right now, not reported in the news. I've reported on this for quite a bit, a mountain of data that it's even difficult for me to keep up with my own work. But this was the work I did during the last crash. I was doing work parallel with Michael Burry and The Big Short. And anyone that knew me knows that John was reporting the same thing. I called it right on the spot. It was the same thing here. I knew real estate was going. I had my real estate 911 channel going. And then the Bitcoin thing, I said, man, this is very interesting. And then you start to see a lot of Bitcoin was secured with NASDAQ stock. And a lot of NASDAQ stock was secured with leveraged Bitcoin. There are companies out there that bought housing mortgages based on Bitcoin. So you secured your housing mortgage with the value of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's crashing. It's going to hell in a handbasket. Every call I made on Bitcoin has been 100% on the money here. And I tell people, when that Bitcoin drops, you're going to see margin calls in the mortgage industry. Today, Loan Depot announced 2,000 workers dropped. We've got the highest amount of inventory into real estate than ever recorded before. You go to Zero Hedge and see that, or go to Real Estate 911. All these things I'm talking about, and I know I'm rattling this stuff. It's like the storm is here. The economic storm is here, and there's nothing can stop any of the stuff that's coming right now. Nothing's going to stop it. And so what do? You got to prepare. You got to take action. You got to take John. And that's where someone comes to me, John, this is all I got. What can I do? Okay, you can do this. You can do this. Practical. Because, saying this stuff it's overwhelming. It's like, what do I do? Because to the average person listening to this video right now, you're like, this is overwhelming, Perez. I mean, shit, from what you're telling me here, what am I going to do? It's like, you got to prepare, man. You can do this. You can do this. Because the one thing that I learned from the last crash is I made some high net worth people a lot of money, but I saw a lot of my friends get wiped out. And that was brutal. I'm like, it didn't have to happen. So I thought, in this crash, I want to help as many people as possible that are patriotic. They love the truth. We know Trump won the election. We know that what we see up there that's being reported in the news is not right. And so I just want to help people to move forward. You don't have to know all this stuff that I know. I've done all the heavy lifting. This is my specialty. What I'm going to tell you is that I can see what's coming in, but you want to be, when that impact comes, when we get that economic tectonic impact, it's going to send shockwaves, and you got to be ready here. And so I always go back to my old stories here on this. So Bitcoin, between now and October, there'll be draconian regulations coming in. And I believe the FDIC and Basel, I believe the FDIC is going to come in, speculation, future prediction, let's see if it comes true. They're going to demand that crypto is backed by some sort of asset. Like the ruble is now backed by gold, the gold-backed yuan, and soon there's going to be a gold standard in the future, gold, silver, with the United States in the future, and it's going to be backed by something. Crypto is not going to escape that. People say crypto is backed by technology. No, when the FDIC and the regulators come in, they're going to say, what are you backed by? And I'm saying, you guys look at the fax machine. There was a time I remember, where I worked at, it was $1,200 for a fax machine. Come look at this fax machine. Now you find a fax machine maybe for $10 at a thrift store. That's technology.
Yeah.
That's
so, John,
the way it works.
What do you see happening? So I have one more question about a housing market, and then I want to look into, after that, really kind of practical ways that people can prepare and what's going to happen with things like mortgages, et cetera. But with the markets, with what's coming, where do you see the housing market going? Because what we've seen is, in the past couple of years, it's like, oh my goodness, my house was worth $300,000, now it's worth $600,000, and everyone's gotten really excited because they have this newfound wealth in the value of their home. But where's that headed amidst all this?
I think I believe we're in literally the last 60 days. I posted the documentation I've been putting up. I've been telling people for a year the housing market's going to implode. And I managed millions of dollars in real estate in the last, and I sold my clients out at the top. We sold our last house in May of 2006. And everyone said, why did you sell? It's going up. I said, it's going to crash. Why? Because I was working with a fund where we had cash. We could just buy $1 million, $2 million houses, go in and out and flip them. The market crashes, it's not going to affect my clients. They care less. But during my research, it was the same thing. Michael Burry was doing all this research. It was like an iceberg. Everyone was looking at, wow, real estate's going up. It's the iceberg. I tell you, it's the real problem is underwater. You can't see it. It's the invisible iceberg. It's the banking system here. Like right now, I believe housing has already imploded. I believe housing right now is in total free fall. Right now, this day, July 12th, 2022, I believe housing is in total free fall. I've documented this. There's no stopping what it's doing right now. Many of my members at Telegram, I warned them about this in October, November, December, in the first quarter, and many sold at the top. And now they're telling me, oh gosh, I'm out. Now my house, it's already dropping down. I said, believe me, you're not going to get a press release, breaking news, it's a good time to sell your house. You're never going to get that. The people doing loans, they're never going to tell you why. They want signed loans. The sponsors on television, they can't say these things. Why? Because they have sponsors, the banks and this and that. So I'm not worried about sponsors. I want the truth to get out. We need the truth so you can decide on your own what to do. But now we're in free fall. And today's numbers that are reported at Real Estate 911 on Telegram, in fact, I just tell people my 4 words, I told you so, we are in free fall. We are in free fall right now. And what do I expect? Remember, it was 2008, which I believe we're repeating right now, that when the oil shock comes, nobody's going to be able to go to work, which means, and then when you can't go to work, you're going to get paid, or you're going to spend all your money going to work on gasoline. Then you're going to have to get food. Then you can't make the mortgage payment. Okay. Then when the stock market goes, this happened last time. People, it's not going to. It happened. Go back and look. When the bank stocks crashed, what did they do? They shut down all the equity and credit lines, and that was it. All those people on YouTube, buy house, zero down. That is going to go away overnight, and people that were all these real estate gurus will vaporize overnight. And when is that? It's happening right now. And there are very few people reporting on it. I'm one of the few. I gather data and just let people decide. And once people look, it's like, oh my gosh. I said, well, because this is what I've been doing for years, gathering data. Because in the past, I had to gather this stuff and make a report that some different trust attorneys I was working with and said, we're going to spend money on this much. When I got them into real estate, they said, we don't want to do real estate. That looks too speculative. I said, just trust me, you'll get in. It's 1998. And I knew real estate was going to boom for years. I grew up in real estate with my parents. So I have a background going way back to childhood. When that market got to the top, I had to say, guess what? We made a lot of money in real estate. It's time to sell. They're like, what do you mean sell? We're making so much money, Perez. You're nuts. We've never made so much money before. Flipping house. You've been right on the money now for what? It was like, we went 6-7 years on that. I said, it's time to get out. And I had to gather all this data. And they looked and said, wow, nobody's talking about this. Just get out. Just get your money. And what did I do? I put them into gold at $360 an ounce. 2 years prior to the crash, they were buying gold at $360, which is eventually what led me to being hired at Monex to be a silver broker, because I had sold millions in silver prior to getting in the business. With silver was like $6, $5 back then. So now in the current market, everything is in free fall right now. I have friends that work in some big public companies, executives. They're like, John, it's over. It's over. Now, here's what's going to happen in my perspective on rates, because that's going to have an impact. We're going to get one more reprieve. They're going to jack up rates, and they're going to realize the error they made, and they're going to have to reverse rates. And it's going to be too late. You have falling rates, oil shock, earnings coming in, calls coming in, but the oil shock is really going to hit everyone. And then once the stock market pulls back in September, October here, that's when you're going to see the real lockup. That's when we're going to see the Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers moments repeat times 4. And that is going to be when it gets really ugly. And that's why I tell people have things secured on stock. They have loans secured on Bitcoin and houses secured on mortgages here. People won't be able to pay their gasoline to go to work. They can't go to work. They can't get paid. They can't make their rental payments. They can't make this. We are going to see that cascade come in less than 90 to 120 days. It's going to happen. It's going to happen just as clear as day, just like that. And by the way, this is almost too easy to predict. The data's out there. I mean, been researching this. Anyone knows I don't sleep much. I constantly research. And this comes from protecting my clients. Here's what I see coming in the future, because we were always planning years ahead. You got to look out for this. You got to look out for this. I never expected to be on, being interviewed for this stuff, because I was working with just a few private clients. But after making a few interviews, there was overwhelming response of people asking, what's next? What's next? And then, of course, it went back to what I said earlier. In the last crash, I had close friends and associates that got wiped out while my paying clients didn't. And I thought, there's no reason why I couldn't have shared that information to help them.
Yeah,
I did in some cases. Most didn't listen. And when the tide went out, we found out everybody was naked. Like
and
Buffett says.
That's a point I want to address, quickly, is that because then I want to talk into solutions. But I think that, as I mentioned in the intro, for us Americans, we have a positive attitude. We've been through the Great Depression, we've been through 2 world wars, we've been through the gas crisis under Carter. We've been through some really bad stuff, and a lot of people, I feel the same responsibility that you do. I feel like there's a giant tornado coming, and I'm saying, look, build a shelter, get underground. And everyone's like, I'm cooking my hot dog. My hot dog's not done yet. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't see it coming. It's coming. True. But how do we break through? Or what do you tell people that even listen to this message and say, well, okay, but my financial advisor said that it's going to be okay, and whatnot? Because, and this is the thing, is that, as you've mentioned, that people go to the media, the mainstream media is not talking about this. Even people like Tucker, that, is really, covering some fantastic topics to wake people up. He's not going out and telling people, go buy food, get out of the stock market, whatever. So they're not hearing it from the experts that they know. And so even if they even see an interview like this, they might weigh that against the 5 other opinions that they have and end up, maybe they go buy, a couple ounces of gold and go back to life as normal. But how can you get people to kind of snap out of that cognitive dissonance and really understand what's happening?
Well, first thing I tell people is you got to think out of the box. You have to ask yourself, who thrived when in the last crash? Did you do really, really well? Did you have any panics, any problems? Number one, if you did, how come you didn't have a forewarning and take notice of it? I mean, a lot of people suffered in the last crash. I mean, the only thing that saved people is the fact that Obama came in and started printing money nonstop and artificially inflated it. It's like he walked into the mortuary and just injected adrenaline and steroids into a recently dead body, and the dead body just came floating back up by printing more money. The best way to see it is to pause for some, we're in such an intense environment right now on either side. I think it's important sometimes for people just to stop for a moment and meditate and say a quick prayer and say, man, if there's a creator in this world, please open my eyes. Let me think out of the box for a moment. Question everything. You have to question things. That's one thing that I believe our U.S. education system did, was it educated people right out of their own common sense, and it made people unable to be critical thinkers and ask skeptical questions from what's coming from the top. I mean, it's like when Bear Stearns crashed. I mean, Jim Cramer said it was $105 a share. Don't keep your money at Bear Stearns, just fine. It was at $1. It was at $1 not too long afterwards. It's like, well, this guy's an expert, CNBC. Well, it's like you have to question. Now, if you were one of those shareholders, you had 1 million shares, you had $100 million. A week later, you had $1 million. I mean, you're in big trouble here. So people need to stop and be critical and say, I need to consider that there's another view from here, because Trump said the system was rigged. The system was rigged. And remember, it was Obama who mocked him and said, oh, that's a conspiracy talk. The system's not rigged. Well, now we know it was rigged. We see that JP Morgan is in the news for manipulating silver and gold. It's a conspiracy. It's like, well, what have we learned about conspiracies? 6 to 9 months later, it becomes truth.
Yeah.
So now we have to say to ourselves, well, if Trump was right and the conspiracy theorists were right, then maybe I need to re-question and rethink everything I'm doing right now and look at other alternative sources of media and work out there that give a different perspective here.
So
maybe I need to think
how do
about that.
people get through this, right? So let's just say that I've got, say it's my first time watching you, and I've got, $100,000 in a 401k, $50,000 in saving, hypothetically. It's my understanding that any of our assets that are tied to the dollar, such as stocks, 401ks, savings, cash even, will fall with the dollar, right? But if someone came to you and they said, John, what do I do? How can I take an action right now that on the other side of this, I'm going to be okay?
I think that, and I've had people come to me with, I've got 1,000, I got 10,000, I got 100,000, I got 10 million. Each one has a strategy. And I usually tell people, look, I'm not a financial advisor, but I'll give you my opinion if that was me. Most of them are saying, a lot of times people come to me and say, man, I've learned so much from you. There's so much going on. It's hard for me to grasp what would you do? I mean, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Okay, well, I'll tell you my opinion, what I would do if it was in my shoes, how I see things, and that's how I take it. So I think the average person here needs to have control of things. One scenario I gave to everyone for this wintertime. Recently, the communication systems were down in Canada. Okay, recall that during the big trucker movement, they froze banking accounts for being in the wrong truck. I mean, it's a political move here. They took your money just for being at these events here. So, there's nothing stopping the situation. What if we have a bank holiday, a bank system? What if we have a bank crash, an ATM crash? They're talking about it right now. They're talking about, is it going to happen? Absolutely. What's stopping it? Yesterday, New York put out a PSA saying, get ready for a nuclear threat. I mean, literally, I looked, I said, this is a real threat here. Well, what do you think is going to happen to the banking system when stocks make a crash? And it was Trump who said, and you can look up, go to YouTube, type in 1929 stock crash, Trump. Trump said it's going to be worse. A terrible, terrible day, worse than 1929 under the Biden administration here. I believe him. Everything Trump says, it may not be true that day, but I'm finding there's all these deltas that come forward. They keep on fulfilling themselves. Trump is going to be right. I believe it's going to be this September, October here. So what can someone do? You got to have control of things. For instance, I've given this scenario. We've got grand solar minimum mini ice age coming. I've told people to buy firewood this summer. One of my guys called me up because, Perez, I get firewood, $180 a cord. All of a sudden, it's 300 and something. I said, the firewood's going to be gone. I said, where's it all going? I said, it's the very wealthy who have people like me advising them, go buy the firewood. The guy in the street is not going to see it. Okay, get the firewood. It's expensive now.
Actually, after this show, I'm going to call my firewood guy and get like 40 cords of firewood.
Yes, firewood's going to be money this winter. You watch. It's going to be money.
Yeah.
And so I tell people, let's say, for instance, an illustrative scenario. You've got 9 months of money in the bank, and it comes November. All of a sudden, October, there's a bank fiasco, forced liquidation. Something's coming. Oh, we're going to apply new central bank digital coin and force convert you into this new whatever. But it's going to be locked up for a while. And by the way, we have the bail-in laws. We have the bail-ins, which is terrifying. We're going to lock up your money for a period of time here. And all of a sudden you say to yourself, wait a second, I need cash right now. You go to your ATM, boom, you can't do it. What are you going to do? You're done. You're toast right there. So if you got an illustrative scenario, if you've got 9 months of money, of cash in the bank, and winter comes and you need propane's triple and you got to stay warm, what are you going to do? If something happens and that cash is frozen up, do you think that 9 months of cash is better in the bank or in your back pocket? Because you're not getting paid anything on interest. In my opinion, I think you're better off holding that in silver. You are the bank. You have to be independent. You are your own bank. You need to be your own. You are your own 911. You are your own financial advisor. You have to take precautions and move that way. It's a serious situation here. So do you really want your cash locked up in a bank? Can you afford to leave it there? Because it can happen. And it's like silver. I remember seeing a a couple storage places just go up in smoke. Like, where'd all the silver go? It just vanished in storage. These things happen, but they never make the news though. They never make the news. Why? Because that's hush hush. The last thing you need is the herd of sheep to all wake up and lift their heads and say, I trust me with my own money. I tell everyone I work with, I trust you with your money, but I do not trust them with your money. I trust you will make the right decision at the right time. And in an emergency situation, you will know exactly what to do. So I think people need to take precautions. And if you have more than 9 months of living cash in the bank, probably better off in your pocket, especially this winter, starting September. It's actually starting now. But the firewood thing, look it up. I wasn't surprised. And like I said, there's something coming called propane Armageddon. All the liquid natural gas. There was a TikTok video I saw last night. The guy literally showed all the tankers leaving the Gulf of Mexico and going straight up to Europe. And of course, that's not in the news. You don't see some, for me, I broadcast. I said, listen, breaking news. You have to watch this video. I was warning you about propane Armageddon. I'm warning you about all this stuff. Look at all the tankers. They're leaving the Middle East. They're going to China and Asia. They're leaving Gulf of Mexico. It's going to Europe. So as that gas that would normally go to Europe has been redirected to China, Biden is filling in the gap, and Americans are going to pay for it here. So get ready, people here. Convert it. When people say, well, I know, what am I going to do with silver? Dude, silver's money. You just traded your fiat for real money. But what if there's a bank collapse or a bail-in? Well, here's one scenario. If there's a bail-in or banks get frozen, what do you think is going to happen to the price of silver overnight? It's going to go boink up, and what's all of a sudden, yeah, they froze this, or they did. It happened last time in the last crash. You look at the price of silver and gold back in 2008, 2009, and where did it end? The price of silver, where did it end in 2012? It ended at $50 an ounce after taking off in 2008, 2009. Same thing's going to happen, but this time I think we're going right through $50, right through $75 here, and we're going to be moving towards the 125, 225 sector here. When I think it's going to happen sooner than we think here. The level of chaos coming down here is going to be, it's going to be chaos we've never seen before. What's happening right now, we've never seen it. And I assure you that no one will be talking the story I just gave. No one will talk this story, and it will fulfill itself. And people go back and say, man, this guy talked about this. Nobody else was talking about it. Because I don't think most people that are in this business are really looking at things from the 100,000-foot view. Yeah, what I call the architects of this world have designed this economy to do just what it's doing. The euro is going to implode. The euro has an expiration date. It's going to probably expire with Bitcoin and NASDAQ because they want to move us to a one world system with less. They want more control and less competition, less currency. And how do you do that? You implode the system and then force liquidate, force convert, or outlaw this, outlaw that. Just like FDR did it in 1933. Oh, give us your gold, fixed price. And if you gave up your gold, you were done. You were done. I think they're going to try to do the same thing here. I think they're going to corner everyone, try to suppress the silver price as long as they can, liquidate people that, and then we'll see silver and gold start to rise here. But I think we should start to move in the second half of July and August. We'll start to see some serious signals on that. But getting ready here, people. I think that the urgency to get ready right now has never been higher. I think people really need to stop and rethink what they're doing and reconsider. And I can't tell you, I have hundreds of people, educated, wealthy people calling me up saying, man, the one thing they always say, I've been thinking about this and I'm looking and I'm like, there's something really wrong. I said, and I hear you and you're confirming the things I'm thinking. And I always tell people, trust your gut, man. You don't have to listen to me. Trust, there's the data points. The data's out there. You will come to the conclusion. Your common sense, trust your gut, you will see it. And 9 times out of 10, it's like, boom, the light goes on. I see it now. I get it. I just haven't had anyone put it together in plain English like this. You have all the data, you put it out there. But my background used to be a teacher. And so I can teach this stuff here. And I say, look, you don't want to spend 8 hours doing this. Here's the bottom line. Zip through these articles and then trust your gut from there. You already know. It's like, I started doing this. I started doing this. You're on the right path, my friend. if your gut's telling you there's something really wrong, trust your gut. I said, your gut will be right more often than you'll believe. I said, and I'm here to confirm to you to trust your gut. I'm not here to tell you that I'm the smartest guy. I'm the expert. Follow my, trust your gut. Here's the data, get it out there. It's free. Because nobody else is going to tell it to you. And I'm used to telling this to people that are high net worth investors, and all my clients are all in silver. They've been in physical silver for years. People always ask, well, John, you're in this. I believe that silver junior mining exploration stocks in the fourth quarter of 2022 and all of 2022, 23, I believe those are going to be the new crypto down there. Because why? Because it's gold-backed paper, gold in the ground, because gold in the ground is money, whether anyone likes it or not. When people look at Russia, they think they have gold, but when they start looking at how much gold's in the ground, or Australia, they have a lot of gold. It's on the surface, but people don't know it. But that is considered in the banking the central banking industry. They consider that gold in the ground as money. And this is really important to know when it comes to gold in the ground and gold-backed stocks and equities that are focused on those areas. That area has not let go yet, because just as the price of silver and gold are suppressed by the paper traders, and that game is falling apart right now. The same thing is going on. A very little known secret about the suppression of mining stocks. There's another story out there that I'll talk about in the future, but it's like, is it being shorted? You bet. That entire industry is because it's a global, psychological, economic, military grade operation to keep people from being able to protect themselves. I believe that 100%. Yeah. It's the same people that are trying to hold Trump back.
So we're going to soon jump into the Q&A portion, but I really want to ask you, where can people find you? Where can we follow you?
I am on Telegram. You can go on Telegram and type in "silver is money" #silver. Go to @silverismoney @silverismoney.
Okay, and I'll share your channel on my channel as well. So anyone following me, I'll share your information on there as well.
Okay, fabulous. Also, I have @realestate911. There's some people like when they hear me talk, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in real estate." Go to @realestate911. Go right now. It's like it's right out in the open. I put in plain English, you can see it. But my Telegram channel has been exploding. It continues to grow. We got 40 countries involved. And by the way, a special mention here. My channel is worldwide, but there are silver patriots worldwide. People around the world are listening. A lot of Dutch, a lot of Aussies, New Zealand, Lithuanians, people from Finland, Irish, a lot of UK people. They are awake. Lots of Canadians and stuff. This message resounds. Yeah. And now we got thousands of people on there saying, yes, yes, yes. I'm like, finally, someone's actually telling it to you. I said, yeah. I said, look, it's, nobody wants to say the word. It's like, what? They don't want to tell you there's fire in the theater. Well, there's fire in the theater here. Yeah. They want you to sit back and just smell the smoke and look around, and nobody wants to offend anyone with the truth. Well, the truth is welcome here, just like the truth is welcome on your channel here. So I'm on Telegram in a big way. I broadcast all day long like this.
Oh, you're so active on there. It's incredible. Yep. And so folks, as I mentioned, obviously, for a long time now, I've been involved with Noble Gold, and I promote Noble Gold, and I've turned away a lot of opportunity to promote crypto and a lot of other products I don't believe in. So I've believed in silver and gold for decades. And so it's something that I also just passionately believe in. And I really genuinely, from my heart, encourage everyone watching to explore silver or gold. And whether you use Noble Gold or not, that doesn't really matter. I've vetted them and I feel like I have trust for them. But if you know somebody or whatever it is, that's fine. Because I really do believe that it's kind of like me saying, go buy seeds. I'm not trying to sell you seeds. I'm trying to say, look, in the future, seeds are going to be money when there's food shortages.
Yes.
So, that's just the reality of that. So we're going to now hop over to Rise TV only. And so we always do a Q&A over there, which I'm looking forward to. But I also, before we dive into the Q&A, and once we're on Rise, I want to dig into a little bit more about the Epstein, human trafficking, and Bitcoin. That's a little more sensitive. And so I'd rather to have that conversation over on Rise, where it's not, right now we're on YouTube and Facebook and everything. So I want to kind of have a little more of that because you really piqued my curiosity with that. So we're going to have that discussion over on Rise TV. And for all of you watching, if you want to come join us, in the description below this video is a link for a free trial. So you can come check out, you can join the conversation with us over there for free. Check it out. There's a lot of great content. You're also supporting a patriot business. And if you want to stick around after the free trial, it's $10 a month, but you're supporting people that are really fighting for free speech. And as you can see, most of my content I'm still doing on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, because I really want to get this information out of there. But none of them pay me any money. YouTube doesn't, they gave me $30 a month for my channel over there. So I have to have a way to survive. And that's what Rise TV does. So, and also make sure that if you're watching on Rumble, make sure you're subscribing to the Man in America channel. And like I said, over on Telegram, I'll be sharing all of John's information there as well. So Dom, you can go ahead and cut the public feeds to YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. And we're going to be jumping over onto Rise TV to get to a little bit more of the juicy stuff over there.
Yeah. No, it's a good move. Going on Rise TV is a good move because it is really sensitive. And I think I did a 19 or 21 video interview with David Morgan on the Morgan Report. It's so big. It's so extensive. I think people don't realize how complex things operate in the world of